Hello again. In this next story, remember we're learning and reading some stories about the gods and goddesses of ancient Greece. And in the last story, we learned all about Zeus and how he came about, some of the awful things he's already done to make himself all-powerful and to make sure that he maintains that power. And in this story, we're going to read about Hermes. Now, interestingly, the title of this story about such a fabulous god is entitled Big Baby. So I wonder why the title of this story is Big Baby. Big Baby, Hermes. The gods never grow old. Take Hermes. He's 17 for all eternity, and the other gods never let him forget it. Fetch this, Hermes. Do that, Hermes. Carry this message. Do as your half-brothers tell you. He even cooks for them. But Hermes doesn't mind. He's an easygoing boy. People down on earth ask for his protection when they go on journeys. Some of those wild country roads swarm with thieves and ruffians. Mind you, the thieves and ruffians ask Hermes for help too. They probably heard the stories of Hermes' childhood and how light-fingered he was, even as a baby. The day Hermes was born in a cave in Arcadia, his mother Maia laid him in his cradle and kissed his tufty hair. Don't cry now. You are son of Zeus, and a secret from his wife. If she hears you are here, Hera will hate you with a deadly hatred and kill you if she can. So hush, my little Hermes, don't cry. And in rocking the cradle, Maia herself went to sleep. Hermes was a big baby, big in the morning, bigger by noon, when he clambered out of his cradle, toddled out of the cave and met a tortoise. Banging on the tortoise's shell, he heard a throbbing noise that he liked. So, emptying out the tortoise, he tied threads of his mother's hair around the shell. When Maia stirred at the pulling of her hair, Hermes plucked a tune which soothed her back to sleep. Then, slinging his newly invented lyra across his back, Hermes toddled away down the road. And there's a great illustration there of this big baby, who I think is probably about 1 day old, with the tortoise shell on his back there. And that's his lyra. That's a Greek violin, if you like. It's quite a famous instrument from that time. He was hungry. He wanted a drink of milk. Watch me go along to see what I can find. Hear me sing my song with my lyre tied on behind. I'm going to find a moo cow, maybe 1 or 2 cows. I may just follow my brother Apollo and round up quite a few cows. All the way to Perea he walked, growing all the while, and in the middle of the afternoon he found the grazing place of Apollo's shining brown cows. They were all bursting with milk, and Hermes drank all he could. Then, hazel switch in hand, he began to drive the cows back the way he had come. He did not drive them head first, but blipped their noses and made them walk backwards, so the tracks they left would make it look like they'd been coming when really they'd been going. He tied twigs to their feet to scuff his own footprints as well. Back along the road he toddled, singing as he went and picking grapes off vines at the roadside. An old woman tending the vines with her aching back watched him go by. It was a remarkable sight after all to see a baby toddling along in wicker shoes driving a herd of back to front cows. Hermes put a chubby finger to his lips as if to say, don't breathe a word. By the time he'd hidden the cows up trees, down holes and under bushes, Maia, his mother, was awake and standing at the door of the cave. And where do you think you've been till this time of night? She demanded, hands on her hips. Hermes climbed into his cradle, a bit too small for him now. He'd grown so much since morning. Never mind, Mummy, he said, then sucking his thumb he quickly fell to sleep. When he awoke, Apollo was standing over him, shouting till the cave echoed, Where are my cows? Agoo, said Hermes. Don't fool me. Where are my cows, you thieving infant? Amoo, said Hermes, chortling. Apollo's curly hair curled a little tighter. Here's the picture of him guiding the cows backwards there, with the leaves on his feet. An old woman saw a baby driving my cows this way. Now get out of bed. I'm taking you before the court of the gods. You can answer to the almighty Zeus for your cattle rustling. Silence in court, bellowed Zeus, as Hermes plucked his tortoise lyra. Answer this charge. Is it true, Hermes, you stole the cattle of Apollo? Hermes stood up. Almighty gods, gentlemen, ladies, I appeal to you. Do I look like a thief? Does it seem probable? Does it seem to you likely that I, a child, a mewing infant, a child of rosy innocence, should walk 50 miles on the day of my birth and carry off like some vagabond, some deceitful rapscallion, a herd of shining cows? Yes, bawled Apollo. Silence in court. And me, a vegetarian, a lover of animals, the merest silken butterfly, fluttering over my crib is enough to make me laugh aloud at the wondrous beauty of nature. Shyster, shouted Apollo. Silence in court. Hermes tottered about the courtroom, declaring his innocence, presenting his defence. He laid his baby curls on the knees of the goddess and looked earnestly into the eyes of the gods. There, look, can you see him just there? He should have been the god of acting, I would imagine. Let's see whether he manages to get away with this. He even hugged Apollo's knee, saying, Would I steal from my own dear brother, child of my beloved father, the mighty ineffable Zeus? Hera stood up with a scream of rage. Another son of yours, Zeus! She pointed a fearsome finger at Hermes. For that, I'll make you sorry you were ever born, baby. And she slammed out of the courtroom. You were seen. There are witnesses, snarled Apollo at his little half-brother. Hermes did not even blush. He simply took out his tortoiseshell lyra and began to play. Apollo stared at this extraordinary instrument with envy. I never said I didn't take the cows, said Hermes. I only said I didn't steal the cows. The truth is, I merely borrowed the cows. For a drink, you know, we babies need our milk if we are to grow into big, strong boys. You ladies understand that. Naturally, brother, you can have your cows back whenever you like. As a token of goodwill, I'd like to give you this lyra. I invented it yesterday. The court cheered and clapped. Apollo snatched the lyre and began to pluck at it suspiciously, and Zeus got to his feet. Hermes, son of Maia, plainly a rascal and a rogue, but you have clever fingers and a golden tongue, my boy. From this day forward you will be messenger of the gods as soon as you have given back Apollo his cattle. Thank you, Daddy, exclaimed Hermes. Perhaps you might like these back too. And from behind his back, baby Hermes produced the bow and arrow he'd stolen from Apollo when he hugged him. The jury of gods gasped and stamped their feet, laughing at the outrageous audacity of the child. Even Apollo could not stay angry at his half-brother, and they left the court together discussing philosophy and music, poetry and politics. You'd better watch out for Queen Hera, Apollo warned his little brother. And there's the picture there. You can see the size of him. He's only a day old, but look how big he is. You'd better watch out for Queen Hera, Apollo warned his little half-brother. She hates you with a deadly hatred. She will never let you be messenger of the gods, no matter what Zeus says. Oh no, would you like to bet on that? Replied Hermes. If Hera drives me off Olympus, I shall teach you how to play the lyre of mine. If I make her like me, you can give me what? Your magic wand, agreed? Agreed, cried Apollo. You haven't a chance. Well, please excuse me now, said baby Hermes politely, but it's time for my morning nap. And he trotted away the marble floors of Olympus towards the hall of the Queen of Heaven. He went to the cradle at the foot of her bed and smiled down at her own son Ares. Could I ask you a great favour? He said. When Hera returned to the room, she lifted her baby, swaddled in lambswool and cradled him in her arms. She fed him and sang to him and rocked him. My, what a big fine boy you are. And plucking back the swaddling from around her head, she kissed his tufty head. A goo, said Hermes. Guess who? It was a risk. She had a nasty temper, the Queen of Heaven. She might have beaten his brains out there and then, but she didn't. They say a woman can't feed a baby and hate it afterwards. Hera and Hermes got along well now. So as long as he makes himself useful, cooking, running errands. So he won his bet with Apollo. He won the magic wand too, though he still gave Apollo music lessons in exchange. Apollo taught his half-brother how to foretell the future. Hermes proudly displayed the magic wand for Argus to see, even offered to tell the monster's fortune. But Argus only glared back and beat one great foot on the ground as if to say, another story will do. Join me next time when we find out about the son of Helios, Phaeton and the chariot of the sun.